On the road. All right, we're on the record. We're deliberating case number 230551A. This is Mr. Tooks at 379 Hillen Road is the property. Requested variance relief from BCZR 1B02.3.C.1 for 5 feet setbacks in lieu of 10 and 25. This was a de novo hearing that we had as a result of an appeal from the ALJ, who had actually denied relief. We heard testimony from Mr. Tooks as well as petitioner's expert. We also got an interesting historical lesson as to the development of this property and I guess in East Towson region off of Hillen Road. It also should be noted that I believe we had no protestants on the other side when we had this hearing. And as a result of same, at the lobbying of Mr. Evans, there was no post-hearing briefs that were to be submitted. So there was no briefs. So basically we have it's just a recording of the record itself. I just wanted to note quickly that often when you have a de novo hearing, it gives a petitioner a second time around to learn from perhaps the defects in presentation from the original. I believe that that was helpful in this matter because what was not put forth before the ALJ was a more in-depth history of some older plats and things that we saw that were not previously produced. They, in fact, were not challenged by anyone. So we basically listened to the expert and the source of these documents at face value, but I found them to be very interesting. First of all, I guess the three of us, the description of the land itself at the back of the lot, there's a hill and different grades that make moving houses around and finding somewhere else for this property house to be on this property non-possibility. I think that itself and that description would make it unique for the first part of Cromwell, so we could get that out of the way. Do I have consensus that we have uniqueness and go on from there?
Yes.
Yeah, for me anyway.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right. And then the second part of the analysis, the practical difficulty, and then there's the other factors that deals with basically the welfare of the community and things of that sort. I think it was clear that, there was a somewhat of a practical difficulty in that there was no way a house in compliance could be built on this lot. I think the presentation of petitioner's counsel and also what we were most interested in was just dealing with how such a residence would fit in to the existing community. And in review, it's interesting when you want to say the nature of this community, it's basically what side of the street you're looking on and what side of the property. Directly across Hillen Road, you have an old row house development that's been there for ages. To the left of it, there's an apartment complex. Directly next door, there is a church which has been progressively expanded over the years. And more interestingly, right on the other side of the church are single family small homes with fronting driveways, which are more representative of the historical lots that we saw on plats that used to occupy the property where the church expansion has taken place in recent years, and then have left this lot, which would be the very end of what we saw in that exhibit as an undeveloped lot from the historical records. Interesting testimony to bring up. We had no corroboration from the other side, but there was the inference that there had been an offer made to the church to see if they wanted to purchase this property. As we heard testimony when looking at the very old plan for the development of this area, they talked about making way for church expansion and for residential use. But we heard testimony that the church was not interested in church expansion. The only thing further I can say to that point is that though this is a community that we have seen in prior hearings that is quite active in what goes on in development ways, there was no one here. There was no one from the church or no one from the apartments, no one across the street saying that this presented a problem for them, as that is not the it's not mob rule, but it's just interesting that there was in fact no.
This is anti-mob rule.
Yeah, anti-mob rules. So there is that. Another thing and I'm going to keep talking, then I'll shut up real quick. But it was interesting to me. I've heard this in other cases too, that though, there's a claim that it's not developable due to, modern standards for setback, but no one has informed the tax man because it seems that the value of the property from assessments and taxation still reflect maybe value that might be a developed parcel. That doesn't tell us anything for our Cromwell analysis, but just lets you know that basically this family has this parcel. Interesting history, how it came to be theirs, but it is theirs. We heard testimony that the intended use will be to build a home that is possibly going to house Mr. Tooks's direct family members. Um, we're not talking about building a convenience store or building some office building or something. This is actually a residential use in a residential area. So I guess so. I've shown my hand in my discussion there is that, I believe definitely there's first analysis of Cromwell, there's uniqueness, there's some practical difficulty. And I, having a bigger view of what the surrounding area is, which is everything. There's, apartments, row houses, single family houses, and a church, that I don't think it's not like, I'm using double negatives. I believe it is consistent somewhat with what would be there. So that is my thought. We can talk more. I thought I brought it up at the end of the hearing that I would like to see at least some sort of conditioning placed on any decision that we do, that there is some sort of landscape plan that is required that provides proper screening from any church uses, and also provides the property to at least blend in with the surrounding area. So it's not just basically on an island and looking out of place. So that was my thoughts on the matter. We can discuss more in detail. Either of you want to go second? Any volunteers to pipe up next?
I will.
Okay.
I think one of the things we asked Mr. Dietz was whether the house could be moved back on the lot as far as possible. And I think he thought maybe 10 feet, but the grades would limit that. But that was also a consideration. And the planning office seems to take the position that the plan for East Towson, which is well over 30 years old, wanted this to be church property, but we had testimony, as you just mentioned, that the church did not bite when given the offer. And I don't think that plan is binding on them as a requirement, nor do I think it is timely to today's conditions. So as a guide, it might have been a wish, but I don't think that should change our decision and your recommendation. So I would agree with you.
I'm good with it.
God, you're easy.
I mean, I would hope maybe the church would change its mind. That would be probably easier for Mr. Toots, but whatever, as I say, I'm good with it.
All right. Well, Joe is good with it. I believe the presentation that we were given without opposition, this made some good evidentiary findings that show that this was not like an outlandish home in an area that's never had homes before.
Yeah. It's not a 7-Eleven. I mean,
yeah, it's.
So do we want to condition it to require architectural review and a landscape plan?
I think that would be best, because I think that would provide further input. And, if there's any trepidations on the part of the county, just to make it, so it blends. But, this is housing. This is basically housing for folks. So, you know, that's always a good thing. It's not a gigantic development. It is someone doing housing, and I think it would be beneficial.
And it's housing where there's infrastructure.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
this is, in my mind, just as a matter of policy, which does not go to the bottom line, but to put housing in infill areas that's consistent with the surrounding community is a win-win.
Yeah. So, all right. And then, and as Mr. Evans says, he's good with it. So, yes,
I mean, I think you should all be happy that I'm not shooting my mouth off. You know, this deliberation is 20 minutes shorter than every other one I've ever been involved in. So,
all right. Well, I think we have, again, there was no opposition. And as I said before, there was a lot of information that was provided in this hearing that the hearing below did not have the benefit of, which I think for me added some clarity as to what had been there before, to show that it's really not inconsistent with what was there before. And for testimony that there's, I believe, remnants of similar houses just on the other side of the church. So, and right now, I believe your testimony is just an overgrown parcel that sits back there. The church isn't using it. Evidently, the church does not desire to purchase it at this time, as Mr. Evans says. Perhaps, maybe they will. I don't know. So there's that too.
yeah.
All
Well,
right.
maybe, now that there's something imminent to be built there, maybe the church will be incentivized.
Yeah. So I don't know.
If the church had acquired the property and wanted to put a residence there, they would have the right to do so.
Yeah.
So I don't see,
You mean as a parsonage?
I think
Right.
that's what you call it, Mr. Evans.
But I don't think they would be able to split off the lot and build a single family home without doing everything Mr. Toots has done.
Yeah. If there was some
it's an
sort of,
existing lot.
anyway, before we go down that road,
Let's say, have a good day.
Are both of you on the code at 10? I know you are, Deborah Jo. Are you?
am.
I am. Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. We will reconvene for that one in just a bit. Y'all have a lovely day. I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. Yep. Bye-bye.